Most people think to stand out in this business, you need to be the first one on top of the story, or the person with the loudest voice, or the biggest ratings. In truth, to stand out in the news business, you just need to ask the right questions and demand the right answers.
Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to another segment of INN's TweetLines Plus. Well, I'd like to get the news out, sort of the updates out on a daily basis. Sometimes you have to take a chance, you have to take a breather, you have to sit back and let the information sort of sink in and do a proper analysis. You can't do an analysis that's instantaneous. And that's what I'm saying here. You're going to get news that you're not going to necessarily find anywhere else. You're going to get analysis that you're not going to find anywhere else. And I take analysis done by other people, and sort of as I connect the pieces from sources all over the place, I put together a more complete picture than one would necessarily think I would. So, once again, I'm looking at Lionel LeBron from Lionel Nation here. I'm going to play the first bit of his opening lines to his opening bit to his title, the video entitled "How I Detest Rosie O'Donnell." Okay. And a lot of it has to do with this backlash that's because she went out and said something about Donald Trump's son.
How the world is going to be repositioned and repositioned and resituated after the Trump victory. That's precisely what this is. It's like how is the world going to be refixed and retouched up and rearticulated and realigned? I mean, I'm serious. It is still, every single day, another example of watching the mainstream media or someone, whether it's Rosie O'Donnell, now, by the way, coming after Trump's son, you know, saying he's, that his son Barron is autistic or what have you. Look, let me tell you something, Rosie. Let me tell you something. I know you're miserable. I know you're self-loathing. I know there's a part of you that hates yourself, that nobody can get along with you. No one likes you. No one likes working with you. Nobody does. You have no friends. You're one of these misanthropic, miserable people who is so unable to either love yourself or others. Everything you've touched has been a complete and utter disaster. Think about this. Nobody likes you. You speak for no one. You're not left. You're not right. But for you to come after a kid, a 10-year-old kid who has nothing to do with anything. I've said the same thing about Malia and Sasha, Obama's kids. Leave kids alone. I mean, seriously. Now, Ivanka, Eric, Donald Jr. will be fine. It's a different story. They're going to be in the administration, perhaps. Sons-in-law, and I got it. But this goes to show you how the hatred, this vile, this rancid, this absolutely, this no hold barred, seething disgust and hatred has nothing to do with politics. This is where we are. This is why this country is so fractionalized, because we take it personally. We don't know enough about the issues. We just know the people who are involved. I mean, I was trying to...
Okay, I'm going to stop it there because he's said enough, and this is where he is incorrect. He says, well, the problem is because we take things for granted. He's blaming the United States for the American people. But if you actually go into the history book, not in the history book, but you go into the history, talk to people who've lived through revolutions, and particularly communist revolutions, you will find, and I've seen this myself from, Greeks who are communists, who become indoctrinated. The whole point of indoctrination is to get people to stop thinking, to accept the lines that they are told by their higher ups. In other words, the so-called free thinkers of the social left. And now there's a lot of different progressives out there. There's a lot of different type of people who call themselves progressive. There's progressives on the left, there's progressives on the right, there's progressives who are more centered, there's center-right, center-left, there's a called alt-right, alt-left. There's a variety of different sort of called progressives that involve the socialist movement. And socialism, again, is not left or right. It contains an entire spectrum of left and right. And what we just simply call, we've gotten into the habit of calling socialists, identifying the socialists as being left. And that's actually not historically correct. But on either side, no matter what you see within socialism, and this is going to the history of the French Revolution, look at Robespierre. What did he do? He's a demagogue. He was a demagogue. He got up there, and you have this sort of a driving of masses. What did they do after the French Revolution? Look at how many people this so-called socialist movement. Look at how many people they killed. Look at the guillotines. How many people? And they didn't chop off the heads. They didn't guillotine just the adults who were the of the nobility. They went ahead and guillotined children. There wasn't any sense of limitation as to what they were prepared to do. And this, you see the same thing in the communist revolutions, in the Maoist revolution, in the revolution for Che Guevara. They went after people who they thought were evil. And you can read this in Dostoevsky. And this is what I'm saying. You need to go down and do a study on Dostoevsky. Don't just simply. I'm not gonna. This is why I don't like giving quotes. Giving quotes says, "Oh, I don't have to go do the study here. This is the quote here. This, you have to sit down and study the material. If you're not going to sit down and read, you're not going to sit down and study, then, and more often than not, you're going to be fooled because not everything you're hearing is true. And normally, there's also a sense of understanding that is missed if you don't go do the study. And the thing is, you have to look at Dostoevsky's work in its entirety, not within simply taking a bit of his work out of context. Because it is very easy. You'll see how a lot of professors, when they talk about, oh, we studied Dostoevsky, what they've done, and they look at these course studies, because he's actually integral to socialism, to the history of socialism. Even though in his earlier life, he was a socialist. But on his deathbed, he wasn't a socialist. There had been a transition from the socialist that he was to actually the Christian that he died as. I mean, he died as a Christian. He went back to the Christian, the roots of the Russian Orthodox Church. He went back to those Christian roots. The Russian Orthodox Church is not in any way, shape, or form in terms of the theology similar to Roman Catholicism. In fact, the Roman Catholicism that most people understand as the Christian Church is fundamentally opposite to what the Russian Orthodox Church was. It was completely different. And so most people cannot say, "Oh, yeah, he became a Christian." Cannot do that, because if you don't understand what came before the papacy, and that was the Russian Church, and this was in Kiev, then you're not going to understand what Dostoevsky became on his deathbed from coming from socialism. But I say, you take a look at socialism, you take a look at communism, you take a look at the number of, let's go into Pol Pot, into to the Khmer Rouge, right, in Cambodia. Look at what they did. You go back and look at this. This guy considered himself to be a Democrat. He always said, this is a democracy. Hitler considered himself to be a Democrat. He was there for democracy. Same thing with Stalin. Same thing with Lenin. This was about democracy. This was about the people. And the thing is, in every situation, what you have is people who state that this is just something personal that has nothing to do with politics. But Lionel LeBron apparently hasn't gone back far enough in history. He hasn't done an in-depth enough study in history to fully bring this forward. And I'm going to demonstrate this. Because we say, oh, this is, and he's talking about, these are the Democrats because they are sore losers. This is after the election. But I'm saying this is not true, because you can look at the behavior before the election. This is from October 29th, October 29th, 28th, in that time frame there. This is before the election. And this is a black woman on the street protecting Donald Trump's star. She's got signs up about this whole thing about illegal immigration. It says Obama has homes for illegal immigrants, but where is my home? And she's homeless. Now we can argue about why she's homeless, but the fact of the matter is that while Obama and a lot of these social left people are taking care of the so-called causes, one of the causes that seems to have sort of slipped through the cracks are homeless. But the thing is, what happens here? The Hillary supporters harass and beat up a homeless woman, and you'll hear this.
But you see my ass, sleeping on the ground, pissing themselves, getting made fun of by a group of people, and the crazy black people. Oh wait, you got broken fucking vinyl. Keep it going. Come on, fine, don't touch me. That's what you got. That's what you got. That's crack. That's what you got. That's what you got. You about to get your ass. That might be her. That might be her weapon. Go to jail for what? You feel me? Yeah. Fuck with me. I'm fucking with you right now, bitch. Like, let's go. I got his back too. Speak fast. Yes, sir. She obviously has a little bit of mental difficulty. She's in a complex situation. She's living on the street. All right, guys. We're all very upset about Trump and what he said and what he's talked about and what he's done to our country. Leave it to the white boy trying to fix it right now. Fuck that. Like, yelling at this lady does not help the situation. Just go vote on November 8th.
And there you go. I'm going to be playing more of this, and you'll go back and see. We're going to start analyzing this. This is prior to the election. This is not after the election. This is before the election. This is when they say, oh, Donald Trump is creating hate speech. Let's continue on with our analysis.
Don't forget about this guy. And maybe we won't even put his star back. And we'll all go on with our lives. She's spewing hate, bro. Maybe we'll see about TV someday. She's spewing hate. Yeah.
All right, now. She's holding up a sign that says "Go Trump." That's all it is. And also, in this guy's view, and this is the indoctrination of the left. He feels that she is spewing hate. Now, ironically, the guy who's the voice saying she's spewing hate is a black guy. She's a black woman. She's homeless, but yet the black guy feels superior to her. And this is the way the indoctrination works in socialism. You create the persona, they create the view that you're superior, that the people you are supposed to be helping them, that they need to be grateful to because they don't know what they're doing. This is something known as the bewildered herd. You're herding the unwitting animal into a better situation, and you're protecting them, you're taking care of them. This is the nanny state. This is the big brother state. This is what we saw in George Orwell. But you see what happens when the sense of superiority is challenged. They feel threatened. They're saying, "Oh, this is someone who's bad. This is somebody who's evil." And this is actually what you see in Dostoevsky, particularly in the brothers Karamazov. You see that certain people, particularly the homeless, elderly people, are seen to be evil. These are people who are leeching off society. They bring no benefits to society, and therefore need to be eliminated from society. And in other words, eliminated completely for the betterment of society. In other words, in socialism, everything goes towards the benefit of society. It's not about the individuals, not about the minority, it's about society itself. So a person who is homeless, who has particular mental problems, needs to be getting rid of because she's she's a defective. She's detrimental to society itself, so she needs to be gotten rid of. And this is why this person here who is educated, he's probably gone to a college, maybe a black college, and there's a number of black people standing around her. All these people here look to be, they're well-dressed, they're not homeless by any stretch of the imagination. So let's continue on with this.
We're not even yelling. We're trying to get back. I mean, what's wrong with her?
Okay. So it's okay for her to go rob somebody? It's okay for her to go commit a crime because she's in a difficult situation?
And here comes the equation. And this is the equation of the equalizer. It's okay for her to go rob a bank. It's okay for her to kill. This is how this is the thought mechanism. This is the psychology of a socialist. They equate what the person is saying, their thoughts, with the actions of criminality, of robbery, of theft, of murder. This is what they consider here. And what you see is the argument is a hyperbole. It's an extreme exaggeration of the situation in fact, and he's hyping the situation up. What's he doing? He's hyping the situation. And you'll see what happens as it continues. As this guy who's actually, this is what you can call in this situation here, he's a socialist agitator. His job is to get the crowd riled up, to get the crowd to feel justified for the attack they're about for the attack that they're going to do on this lady here.
And our system ain't gonna give her help. So we about to give her help. We're about to give her help. She don't want help. She don't want help. You want to take your medicine? You want to take your meds? Or you want to take your medicine? No, she don't take medicine. She don't take medicine. So. But you're covering what the fuck you just said just now, bro. What? You heard what? Everybody heard what I just said, right? Everybody heard me, but you, bro. Anyway, the problem is she's spewing hate, bro. You're contradicting your words. You're contradicting my words. Yes, you are. Right. How am I contradicting my words? What the fuck you saying? That's what I'm talking about.
Now this is. There's a fat Mexican, a younger man. That's a male going. This guy has a. He was just in a shop because he's got a commercial bag, a baseball Hall of Fame, something like that, some sort of sports league bag that he come out of this sort of Hollywood store, and he's on the start. And now what he's doing, he's big, he's heavy, and what he's doing, he's just running into it and using his body weight as a sumo wrestler would do. And he's knocking into the homeless woman, knocking her down, knocking her stuff over, and here you can hear the crowd's reactions.
I told you, didn't I tell you? 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 Ain't nobody. Don't touch her, let her be. Don't touch her. Didn't I tell you? Don't touch her.
She's now on the ground. She's more or less knocked out. She's probably, if she has some mental health problem, she's going through probably a mental episode at this particular point in time. And you hear them yelling at her. And this is the whole crowd. Her cart has been knocked over with all her possessions in it.
Didn't I tell you about 5 minutes ago that somebody ain't gonna walk by here and no, I would not defend you because you spewed hate and you got hate. You got exactly what you were.
This is it. There's the justification.
Dishing out. I told you, I warned you on that, didn't I? Nobody walk by here and no, I would not defend you because you spewed hate and you got hate. You got exactly what you were dishing out. I told you, I warned you on that, didn't I?
This is it. And then there's no police here. No one comes to her aid. No one comes to her defense. And what's going to happen now, you'll see as the rest of the video plays out. Some people will try to be nice and start to help her. But the guy who does the agitating pulls them back into line again.
Nobody call shit. She ain't hurt. She gonna lay there acting like I told you she wasn't crazy. She knows what she's doing. She gonna lay there like she hurt. Hey, where's Donald at? Hey, where's Donald at? Where's Trump at? Guess what? He still ain't here. I told you though. I told you that shit was gonna happen. I told you, and you looked at me. You asked me as a black man would I defend you, and I told you no. I told you no. She's ready. She been awake. She's trying to keep her eyes closed. You can see them moving. This is Hollywood acting, you guys. I'm gonna give her CPR. Nobody wants to put on that. You might just put your lips on the crack pipe.
This is Hollywood acting right here, you guys.
The thing is, there could be a paramedic right here, but of a different ethnicity.
You know what? The paramedics may have been here if they weren't, Mexican. Exactly.
Hey, I got the fact that the paramedic Mexican, bro. What you gonna do?
I'm gonna get this Snapchat of you, because you're looking pretty sad and
Do
pathetic.
you need some water? I mean, it's not necessary. Do you want to from the ambulance?
I'm telling you, they're gonna be Latin American.
Yeah, that's right.
Isn't Donald Trump supposed to help you?
Where's Donald? I'm probably raping some bitch, right?
You want me to tweet her?
I don't know. You know what? The ambulance probably, the local PD probably dealt with her before.
So that's the video. You can find it on the internet here and anywhere. I'll put a link to one of the videos. And the thing is, they feel justified in this. And you hear them laughing. I mean, these are Hillary supporters. These are the Hillbots. And as you heard that one person, do you need a glass? They drowned her out. And at some point in time, she came back in laughing again. In other words, they make sure that there is no humanity. They make sure that they feel justified in what they do. This isn't about personal attack. This is indoctrination. This is how the militant left, this is how the indoctrinated behave in the socialist system. We saw this in Venezuela. We see this. If you go to any socialist, you'll see this. And this brings us to, well, only if Dr. Jill Stein was there. Only, she's different. Oh, Bernie Sanders is different. Well, they're not different. They're exactly the same.
INN promote, inform and change. We deal with issues that other networks won't.
Now, to continue on with our analysis, there's two different tracks we can go in. And I do need to bring up both these tracks. I'll do one as a sort of a digress and then move on to the next one to demonstrate the patterns, how socialism operates, and that socialists aren't going to get what they think they're going to get. They're being used. And what happens, the more people wake up to this, the more you see people start falling away from it. And this is what's happening with a lot of these sort of Hillary supporters, is that a lot of these people are beginning to start seeing what's happening if they're paying attention to it. And this sort of brings us into the whole thing with Kyle Shea of Shaytards, and these people who think they're apolitical and think they're being balanced, don't realize what's actually happening out there. And their apolitical stance is actually supporting Hillary. And the viciousness that is going on in the Hillbot community, in the socialist community. And this is Jill Stein here. And I said, but let's go back to the tangent a little bit here. We heard from this. We heard from Kiki Green. Kiki Green is a black woman. There's another one out there who, for some reason or another, doesn't like Kiki Green, and his name is, I think, Tommy Sotomayor, and he also supported Trump. So what happens here? You have a black homeless woman. You have a black woman. She's not, if you want to call it a bougie, an educated black woman. She seems to be stuck in a particular situation, but she has her opinions. And the same thing with this guy named Tommy Sotomayor. He's a black guy. He's talking about his support for Trump. And the thing is, what you're seeing here from a lot of these support, and this is sort of with the demographics here, that they're sort of representative of the demographics, actually. We talk about numbers, right? You talk about, oh, you have X number of people supporting this person, X number of people, Y number of people supporting that candidate. They talk about the percentage of blacks. But the thing is, it's more than just simply numbers or statistics. There are people behind these numbers, and these are the people behind the numbers. You have a homeless woman there. You have a black woman. You have another black guy. I found several of them who were like this. All different opinions, all different views. They're not all on the same page with each other, all supporting Donald Trump for their own particular reason. This is anti-establishment. The anti-establishment does not define itself by any one particular definition. And this is the same way with LeBron Lionel LeBron, this Lionel Nation. He is in many ways a progressive, but you can't classify him left or right because he seems to be in a variety of it. So he's more of an anti-establishment progressive than he is any form of established progressive. But the progressives who came over to Trump, who started supporting Trump, Lionel LeBron, H.A. Goodman, who came over and started coming into the sort of the Trump camp. Again, coming in for their own particular reason. There's no one reason why someone actually said, I support Trump. There wasn't any one particular reason. Each one had their own particular things that they say, okay, this is my candidate. They made a particular choice. They came from other places, they came from other directions, and said, okay, this is my choice here. And they were attacked when they chose Donald Trump as their choice. They were attacked by their friends who were on the left, because this is what the socialist mindset does. It turns people into attack dogs. Well, how can you do that? Because they denigrate, they make fun of, they make the person feel as they're insignificant if they make this particular choice and not go for the so-called established choice, the reasonable choice. And the thing is, so you see a wide demographic supporting Donald Trump, as opposed to this whole narrative, oh, it's only white people, this is a white lash, it's not a white lash. If this were a white lash, you wouldn't see homeless black people, you wouldn't see a black woman, you wouldn't see several black guys supporting Donald Trump. They wouldn't be they wouldn't have that support. So the whole concept, this whole white lash, is completely false. And this narrative was in the New York Times. It was in most of the mainstream media. So, New York Times, journalists. No, they're not journalists. New York Times is high-level bullshit. It's the same level of bullshit, the same type of bullshit that you have for the average person, but it's done in a little fancier way so that you can have it with tea and it's proper for society. But nonetheless, no matter how it's dressed up, no matter how it's disguised, no matter how well it looks or how well it's painted, it's still bullshit. And this is what Lionel LeBron is talking about. There's a lot of shit in the media. There's a lot of bullshit. And there's simply no other way to describe it, because this isn't simply lying. This is bold-faced. They know that they're lying. They know these stories are created. And they're created in such a way they are marketed to a particular crowd. This stuff is being... People are buying this stuff. In other words, I'm not talking buying in a figurative sense, but in the literal. They're buying the New York Times. They're buying these high-level magazines, and they're eating this up as if it's truth. Why? Because I'm paying. Look at what I'm paying for the New York Times. I'm a high-level person. I'm smart. I'm a professor. I'm a university educated. I have my degree. I can't be stupid. Look, this paper can't be stupid. Look at how much I'm paying. This is a high-level paper. Look at how well it's respected. But yet, that's exactly what's happening. And you can hear how the line goes from the Hillbots. And this is where you'll see social indoctrination. And you see that it first was with, what's his name? Bernie Sanders. When he rolled over, he did the exact same Jill Stein. Jill Stein is now lost. Jill Stein wasn't even seen or even talked about in the election. Even though she was there, she wasn't seen. She's now coming up in this post-election analysis, where she's now calling on her supporters to cough up money so that they can do a recount.
Hello, Facebook friends. Hello, Americans, citizens of the planet. Hello, revolutionaries. It's Jill Stein, former Green Party candidate for president, coming to you from my home, along with my cat, Willie, right here, who I hope will be willing to sit on the sidelines. We'll give it a try. He's very anxious to participate and be part of our democracy, like all of us are feeling right now in the aftermath of this very, very tragic consequence to the election, an election which was from the get-go very, shall we say, toxic, very corrupt, and which attempted to force two terrible choices down our throats. So I'm here tonight basically to say thank you so much to everyone who's...
So this is her statement after election night. This is November 15th. And she said it's talked about it. The election was a tragedy. The election of Donald Trump was a tragedy. This reflects exactly how the left feels. And it's a monumental statement, because now she's saying, okay, let's do a revote. She says here, two terrible choices. So she's not only saying bad because Donald Trump got elected, but also bad because of Hillary. Right? It says, one of the things here says, vote recount announced in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. In other words, these are states that they're going to try to go back. The Democrats are going to try to go back and steal the election for Hillary. Who's doing this? This is being led by Jill Stein. She has rolled over for Hillary. Here you say, oh, bad choice. Oh, both of them terrible. Terrible Donald Trump won, but Hillary was a bad choice too. Here now she's saying. And the thing is, they're going to try to steal the election. What they say, oh, there was some voting irregularity. Gee, this is funny from the camp that said that not only Jill Stein was pushed out of the way and marginalized to the point she was invisible, that Bernie Sanders stated under fact, and you can see this on the internet, that she rigged the elections for the primary so that she was elected in states, even though she didn't show up to these states, so she had almost no one at her rallies. Bernie Sanders was filling stadiums, and yet she won the state completely outright. And she won it solely on the delegate votes. And the thing is, a large chunk of the thing is, when you look at that, and this was in California too, there were massive accounts of voter fraud inside the DNC primary elections. The same thing was supposed to happen. You heard Lionel LeBron, everyone was talking about the selection of 2012 because they were certain that Hillary Clinton was going to win. And if you watched the election night voting, there were problems. And in all the swing states. But the problems had started were swinging towards Hillary Clinton. It wasn't until after those problems were sort of kind of cleaned up and things swung back towards, ended up swinging back towards Donald Trump. And this is why it took to 2:30 in the morning to really 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. Why they didn't call it earlier? Because they are having problems. But what happens is that enough people were on the ball, enough people caught things, that the fix couldn't go in. They couldn't magically make ballots appear that didn't exist. And this was the result. But now they want to go back and do a recount. Where are they going to go back to? They're going back to some of the swing states. They're not going back to all the swing states. The swing states that Hillary Clinton has won on a thin margin, they're not going to do that. They're only going to go back to the states. They're going back Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. These are the states they're contesting because this is where Donald Trump won. They're going to try to get back the Midwest. This sort of called the Rust Belt. And the thing is, I don't know if it's going to be successful or not. They've tried everything else. They've tried a lot of, and now we're going to be in suspense now for another 2 weeks because they're doing it. And Hillary is this Dr. Jill Stein from the left. Everyone, even Jesse Ventura says, "Oh, how he respects her." Really? She just rolled over. She rolled over for the establishment. Jesse Ventura is always talking, oh, he's anti-establishment, he's anti-establishment, anti-establishment. You go look on his channel, use his stuff, because I don't use his stuff at all anymore. I looked at his stuff before, but everything's copywritten. He's not anti-establishment, he's establishment. If he were anti-establishment, he would be using the Creative Commons stuff. He's not really anti. This is like I said, but for a lot of these people, they're not really anti-establishment. They call themselves anti-establishment, but if you look at their use of the copyright law, they're establishment. And so they're talking about also this going on in the background here. No one's really paying attention to this. This whole thing called Pizzagate, and it's about the pedophilia ring, and more stuff is coming out about the pedophilia ring. And so, and then they're saying, this is restricted to Hillary Clinton. This is restricted to Bill Clinton. This is sort of the end of the Clinton era type of thing. Go back into the history of the Soviet Union. What do you see when the collapse of the Soviet Union? You see child prostitution. You go back into the Chinese Revolution in terms of the Maoist revolution. Mao had a penchant for 13-year-old girls. This is the type of girl that he liked. And the girls, 12, 13-year-olds, were shipped up to him. They were given the honor of being with the leader, the exalted leader of Mao. The exalted leader Mao. Pedophilia has a history within socialism. And the thing is not just simply with the actual practitioner of socialism. It's actually embedded within the philosophies, the engineering, the social engineering of socialism. Pulls from the tribal societies. It goes into the tribal society and looks at some of these unbelievably twisted views on sexuality, and says that these are the society values that we want to bring forward. And so there's a history there. There's a history to that. It's not just Hillary Clinton. You can see this in Sweden. You can see this in the Netherlands. You can see this in England with the left, with Jimmy Savile from the BBC. He was on the left. A lot of the professors who say there's nothing wrong with pedophilia, that pedophilia is a natural state. It's a sexual orientation, a natural sexual orientation. This is all coming from the left. This is all coming from the psychologists. This is all coming from social engineering. This is not isolated to Hillary Clinton. This is a behavior. Pizzagate is a behavior of the entire socialist spectrum. It's part of their base philosophy. If there is no human being and we are simply the animal, then we are a sexual animal. And that in order to have kids to be properly sexually healthy, they need to be educated in the sexuality that they're coming into. In other words, you're going to have a social society that is based on a sexually open society. In order to have kids to properly come into them, you need to properly sexualize them. They need to be educated in this sexuality. This is the social left message, and it's done this throughout the UN. You can actually go into the history of the UN and see this. You can see the problems with the UNHCR, the Human Rights Commission, the Human Rights Council. Whenever they go into these different villages, they set up these human rights camps, these humanitarian camps that deal with the refugees. There are always this problem of rape. There's always the problem of human trafficking. This is done in Kosovo. This is done in Africa. This is what we see in Syria. This is what we saw in Haiti. It's feted throughout the UN. This is socialism at its core. And when someone like Shay Carl comes up and says, "Oh, I'm apolitical," and then all of a sudden, because he's with Disney, and Disney is in the socialist camp, they are there to prepare children for the sexual world. They are there to sexualize children. This is why Hollywood has the problem that it does with open sexuality within their studios. This is why there is no difference between Hollywood and what happened with the Roman Catholic priests. Although you don't say anything about Hollywood because, well, they're Hollywood, and Roman Catholic priests, they're Christians, so you got to go after them, right? The thing is, Shay Carl says, and this, he's not alone in this. And I'm not sort of pointing out Shay Carl just because he's the one who's doing it. A lot of apolitical people are like this. They'll say, what's wrong with it? Because they don't look into the background. They don't actually do the work. They don't actually do the research. They rely on the mainstream media to tell them what's true and what's not true. So a lot of the stuff that's not in the mainstream media, that's not being seen, including that Obama's still going around rattling the war saber, trying to create a nuclear war with Russia, still trying to agitate within Ukraine. Even though if you look back into the history of Russia, you'll see that Russia was founded by a prince named Prince Vladimir of the tribe of a Viking tribe called Rus. And where was Russia established? It was established in Kiev. The birthplace of Russia was Kiev. The Ukrainians exist because of consistent German invasion into that region. That's the only reason why the Ukraine exists. So the victims who were attacked repeatedly was twice by the French under Napoleon, and then twice by the Germans. Russia was attacked, and they went into that region, Kiev, into what they now call Ukraine. And these people who were there, who were primarily Russian, were attacked. The churches were taken over. The churches were burnt down, and a Catholic institution was installed. Even though it looks like it's Orthodox, it's Catholic in its origins, in its base, and said, you're no longer Russians, you're now Europeans. You're now Germans. And this is still going on today. This is what Obama's doing. And he's doing this without Hillary Clinton. This is the establishment. The establishment is trying to create a war with Russia. But none of this pops up. None of this comes into the shade-tarts. What does come into here? Oh, a girl got her headscarf pulled off. A Muslim girl got her headscarf pulled off in school. She's afraid now to come to school with her headscarf on. Oh, Trump is so terrible he shouldn't have said the things he said because this is what it's causing. No, it's not causing that. That Muslim girl has more to fear from her father and her brothers. And all you have to do to understand is go into the newspapers of India and see how on a daily basis Muslim women are murdered and killed in honor killings by their own fathers, by their own brothers, by their own family, because they did things that are improper, that embarrassed the family. That girl any girl who is a Muslim girl has more to fear from her own family than she does from anyone else around her. This is the nature of Islam. Islam has a practice called mutta. If you look at the statutes of the books that control their laws, they're a lot like the Talmud. They have open sexual relationships with babies. There's no problem with it. It's within there. They rent their wives. They rent and sell their daughters into these things called temporary marriages. This is called mutta. Mutta, the statutes of mutta is the statutes of temporary marriage. It could be for an hour, it could be 2 hours. It's all controlled by the mosque. The mosque runs a prostitution business. If you have a business, you want to go out and do a business because you can't borrow or lend. So let's say you want to make a business deal, and well, you don't have enough money, but there was something to cover it. Yeah, because the guy who wants to sell you that thing, but you don't have the money for it, but he likes your daughter. You can rent the daughter to him. You could do that. It's not a problem. And you just have to have the contract. And the statutes lay this out. The statutes of mutta lay this out. This is what the Muslim girls are facing. I've met Muslim prostitutes. Talk to them, because most of the guys, and they were surprised at it because most of the guys who are Muslims won't even talk to the prostitutes. There's no conversation. They're viewed as pieces of meat. They're viewed as entertainment, as nothing significant. None of them that I've met were in there doing their duty, entertaining the men. None of them were sober. None of them. They cannot face what they're doing sober. And I've heard it because I've got neighbors in here who are Muslim. And I've heard them because there are units here where they sell them out, and sometimes the walls are a little thin, and you can see every once in a while out of the units where the girls are kept or they're routed to their different places, crying during the day when they're sober, crying about how they feel where they felt what happened to the night before. And you can actually see in their body language as they leave. They're not happy if they've had a, particularly, a lot of the time is they'll hire one prostitute. It'll be a group of friends will hire a prostitute, and there'll be 5, 6, 7 guys there. And this prostitute has to service all those guys to their satisfaction. And this is all done legally from the mosque. There is an imam, there is a cleric who oversees this, who writes out the contracts. This is the religion of Islam because this goes all the way back to the history of them. In the Quran, it shows, and a lot of Muslims will talk about this, particularly the older people, the older men, how Muhammad had a wife who was 6 years old. There's a range of ages they have, 6, 7, 8. It doesn't matter. How old that, And the thing is, the child didn't have a choice. It's the man and the father who make the choice on how the marriage is going to be done, because it's arranged. The girl had no say in this. There's a difference if let's say, for argument's sake, that you have an older guy who's a little bit childish, likes a lot of the same cartoons. You sit down, you meet the girl that you like, that she's young, and you have a good time together in terms of just watching TV. You strike up a sort of conversation about the show. Some girls are articulate enough that you can have a conversation with them, even at that age. And you enjoy the company. And a relationship evolves. Right? This is hypothetical here. This is not specifically real, because this is really, rarely does this actually meet reality. But just in case I'm saying rarely, because I don't know of any situation where it would. And that you develop a relationship. If the relationship is organic and you move towards marriage, and marriage does occur, then you have that relationship there. She's not simply pushed into the relationship. She's not a mail order thing. She's not an object that you just went out and bought. There's no contract. It's not a contractual relationship. This is what Muslim girls have to endure. This is the way they see things. And I think that, of course, what happens is that some of these Muslim girls, particularly if they survive, will end up getting married. And why? They get married to an older man who wants to have a child, and her job is to take care of the home, the child, and the man. In other words, they become maids. They become servants of the man. This is Islam. And the thing is, but no one looks at this. Sheikh Carl doesn't look at this. The people who are apolitical say, "Oh, doesn't matter." They don't see how Hillary is involved along with a lot of her socialist friends, involved in a lot of this stuff that's really not good. That hurts a lot of people. That creates a lot of misery in this world. This is all ignored. And the thing is Jill Stein's a lot like this. Bernie Sanders is not like this. Yes, they are. This is why they rolled over. They're exactly the same. This is the history of socialism. Every leader who's come along for the socialist history, Pol Pot, Stalin, Hitler, was a socialist. He was a progressive. He wasn't a communist, but he was a progressive. Stalin was a progressive, but he was a communist. He was on the left. Hitler was a progressive, but he was on the right. Pol Pot, for the Khmer Rouge, was on the left. Pol Pot sort of didn't give us the death camps the way he had with Hitler, but he had killing fields, and literally fields, rice fields, paddies, filled with bleached bones. People were shocked when they initially saw that. But of course, that's history, and it's gone now, and no one much remembers or cares about history, particularly in the news media. Because if they did care about this, if they did go into the history, you'll see that this is, what Hillary's doing is not out of line with history. It's well within history. Anyways, I think I'm going to leave this here for now. I will see you in the next segment of INN's TweetLine Plus. Alright, take it easy.
INN. Provoke, inform, and change. We deal with issues that other networks won't.
Welcome to the library, and I am the librarian.
I am the professor. And professor of what? Professor of physics.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light?
Free speech rules here at Democratic Earth.